Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at the Thermaltake Tough Air 710 Black Edition. This is a new version of the cooler, which was actually announced back in CES earlier in this year, 2024, depending obviously when you're watching this, and is now in a nice blacked out version for those of you that want to have a nice aesthetic in your PC. Now, I will get this straight out of the way. This isn't going to be a traditional style review. This is mostly my own opinions. Thermaltake won't be seeing this video before it goes out, which potentially might be a good thing, but I have some things to say, so I will mention that straight away. There are some downsides of this, and I personally think it is a somewhat flawed product. Now, again, Thermaltake probably won't like that, but it is the truth in my personal opinion. You may think differently, but there are certain things I expect in a cooler which sometimes are not met, and it seems to be the case in this one. But having said all that, there is redemption at the end of the tunnel, so do stay tuned to find out what the actual answer is to the problems that are here, and potentially you might find this is actually the right CPU cooler for you. Now, it is a twin stack cooler with two fans on there, two 140mm fans. They're not standard 140mm fans, as you can possibly see. They are sort of elongated in the horizontal rather than being a traditional square layout, so they are very much custom towards this specific cooler. So I think what we should do is go through, take a look at the packaging first of all. We'll go through all the stuff we've got laid out here. We'll then discuss some of the issues that potentially you might find, and then we will look at some thermal results and also the answer to actually making this cooler significantly better and a lot easier to use. So let's get on with it. So we'll start off with the packaging. As you can see, this is a typical Thermaltake packaging. It basically does exactly what it says on the tin. So Tough Air 710 Black, and you've got some of the key things in the bottom there. So PWM fans between 500 and 1400 RPM. That isn't entirely accurate. I've got these down to as low as about 400 RPM, so they do go a little bit lower than that. When it comes to the noise ratings, I don't know where they get the noise ratings from, whether that is what it is above the ambient noise. I have no idea, but there's no way on God's earth it's 23 decibels, unless it's in like a soundproof chamber, which I don't have one of those to hand. Maybe you do, I certainly don't. And it says there supports up to 250 watts, which I actually don't doubt. It's done a very good job today on our Ryzen platform using the 7700X in its completely unlocked format. So basically trying to reach 95 degrees Celsius as quickly as it possibly can. On the back of the box, it goes over kind of more of the same. So it talks about the installation, the dual tower nature, the dual fans, the cold plate, and also the fact you've got 7 heat pipes on here. So you've got 7 6mm heat pipes, which actually is quite a lot considering the size of it, and also considering the price of it, because this isn't hugely expensive. Now, I have seen it on Amazon for some ridiculous price of well over £100, which I'm sure is a mistake or just someone chancing it. But this is available at the moment from Scan Computers here in the UK for £59.99, which I think is actually about right where it should be. And also, if you buy it at the moment, there is also a free sachet of Thermal Grizzly compound as well, which is worth about £8, so that's a nice little deal, which kind of brings this down to about £52 if you're planning on buying the thermal paste anyway, although you don't need to because there is some included in the packaging, so if you're buying it elsewhere, you're going to be absolutely fine. So now let's take a look and see what we actually get included in the packaging. So obviously you get the cooler itself, which we'll take a closer look at. You get 2 fans, so these are the Thermaltake TT1425 fans. As you can see, they are a slightly unusual design. So they are 140mm, but they don't have the traditional 140mm mounting. And actually, you'll probably see for some B-roll I did earlier, I was hoping that these mountings on the side would be the same for 120mm fans. But I've got one of Thermaltake's CT120 fans next to it. And or it's a SWA fan, I'm not too sure, but basically the mountings don't match up. So these are very much custom mountings, so do bear that in mind. If you're looking at this and thinking, well, maybe I'll swap the fans out, basically you're not going to be able to do unless you do some sort of custom janky mods to it, but you probably won't need to. These are actually really nice fans. Like I said, RPM between 400 and 1400 RPM, and to be honest with you, at most of those RPM ranges, they are absolutely whisper quiet. And for clarity's sake, obviously there are 2 included because it is a twin stack cooler. Next we'll go through the fittings and all the included accessories. So you get an instruction manual which tells you how to install the cooler as you'd expect, and it's got instructions for AMD and Intel, so no problems there. It is a slightly complicated situation, not overly so, but they could have made the bags and also the markings a little bit easier, as you'll see shortly. So you get bags of screws, so this one here is bag C, not particularly descriptive, but it does tell you what it is on there, much like IKEA instructions. Would have been nice if they'd just put what it is for, Intel, AMD, whatever. I think that would have made life a little bit easier. There are other various bags, and this is the AMD bracket. So I've actually used this today already, so I've put all the AMD stuff back into one bag and actually wrote AMD on the bag as well. Nice, it is reusable bag, so that is handy. And also you've got the mounting pillars, all that kind of stuff, and screws. And same for Intel, I've written Intel on there because like D, unless you've got the instructions to hand, is a little bit confusing. So you've got the Intel one there. You've also got Intel brackets as well. So all of these are nicely blacked out as well. So no crazy odd colors like blues or reds or pinks or whites or whatever. So that is good. Also included, you get 4 spring clips for mounting the fans. So 2 per fan. Again, these are custom sizes, so you're not going to be able to use them with any other fans, unfortunately. There's also a custom backplate for Intel users. Now for Intel users, the installation method is a little bit more complex. You take some of the long threaded screws, put them through the backplate, tighten up other screws onto them, and then you go through to the thumb screws, which are in one of these bags here. And these thumb screws are something which has been a bone of contention for other reviewers as well. They've got basically no screw heads on them at all, so you're not really overly confident that they're really tightened down. Would have been nice if they had actually some sort of crosshead on them, but they're just knurled on the side, so they are thumb tight. But yeah, would have been nice if they had the option to have either some hexagonal or just a screw hole so you could tighten them up properly. Also, you get included Thermaltake sachet of paste, also a paste application spreader as well if you want to go for that, and also there is a plastic spatula as well for spreading out your thermal paste. So that's all pretty good. You also get a V connector or splitter. So this means you can plug both of your fans into this PWM, and then you're going to need to take up one PWM connection for your CPU on your motherboard. If you've got CPU optional, you can obviously plug it straight in if you want to, but for most people I think plugging both into one straight into the CPU header is probably the best way forward. Also something else which I don't quite understand why, but it's one of those products, there's a lot of things I don't understand. So these are low noise adapters. Now they're a good idea in general. Low noise, excellent stuff. This essentially has a resistor in there, so it reduces the RPM of the fans. But the fans are so good that you don't need to really lower the noise. If you wanted to set them to a lower RPM, you just do that in your software. Now, I guess if you don't have software installed and you're just using the BIOS or something, then maybe those might be of use, but realistically, these fans are so quiet, there's no point to them whatsoever having those adapters. It's just one of these things. And actually, while we're talking about fans, let's take a quick listen to what these fans are actually like. So I've done some B-roll earlier, just tested on a test rig. So I've actually done it with, I think it was 100% and 50%. Basically anything under 50% is basically silent anyway. So let's take a listen to those now. These are the fans at approximately 1 foot away from them. Full speed, 100%, approximately 1400 RPM. Same distance away, this is approximately 50% fan speed, around about 750 RPM. Doors and windows open in the studio. You can hear planes and sirens, hopefully. Fans are essentially, well, silent. Fans are at their lowest speed, so approximately 400, 430 RPM. Totally silent. More noise coming from the graphics card and the power supply. And the sirens. So again, we've heard what the fans sound like. They're actually really good, and again, unless they're at full blast, you barely can hear them over any of your other system noises, fans, power supplies, that kind of stuff. Which is actually one of the saving graces of this whole setup, because we now need to take a look at the actual tower itself. So the tower itself, when you look at it, you think, actually, that's pretty bloody good. You've got 7 heat pipes there. You've also got a really nice nickel-plated base plate there, so that's good for not having any corrosion or anything when you've got copper mixing with other things. Heat pipes all done well. You've got lots of fins on there, really dense fin stack, and of course you've got 2 fin stacks, which is excellent. Also, you've got some Thermaltake branding on the tops as well, just to finish things off, rather than being bare pipes. So okay, very, very nice. Nice solid construction there for all of it. doesn't want to flex or anything, and the fins are very solid indeed. So yeah, no issues there. The problem really lies in the way that the actual fin stack is aligned. So if you look at the bottom of it, you can't really tell, but there is actually a very, very, very slight offset to one side or the other. Now, depending which one you have, means you're going to struggle with RAM clearance, because that is the problem with this. When you're mounting the fans on the front, and again, you're probably seeing this from B-roll, when the fans are actually mounted on, if you want them to be level with the top of the cooler, they do sag down a lot. And they do say on the box there is a limitation of something like 48mm for RAM, but that is with the fans at their highest position, so that is with them kind of overhanging, well, quite a lot at the top, which is not ideal, let's be honest, but it is what it is. So, putting it all together, done some testing on my system today, so let's take a look at some of the results, and then we'll talk about how to actually make this much better. And you'll actually see how to make it better in the results anyway, so let's get into that. So looking at the first test, so this is running Cinebench 5-minute loop, which basically will heat soak pretty much any cooler anyway, especially an air cooler. And we got to about 90 degrees Celsius, I think it maxed out at, just a shade under. Idle temperatures were absolutely fantastic. We were in a 20.4 degrees Celsius room, and we were just underneath 30 degrees Celsius. I think it was down to like 27.8 or something. So a couple of degrees below 30, which is excellent. So 7 degrees over ambient is a fantastic result for idling. And realistically, your PC is probably going to be idling a lot of the time. If you're using your PC at home and it's on, and maybe you're watching kind of your Netflix or YouTube videos, browsing the internet, generally kind of CPUs are going to be idling a little bit. When it comes to being under load for 5 minutes, we're hitting somewhere in the region of about 90 degrees Celsius. And in terms of a score, exactly what you'd expect for this sort of processor, with a fresh installation of Windows 11, with all the AI nonsense running in the background, looking around about 19,200 and change when it comes to the Cinebench score. So again, exactly what you expect. And in terms of the fan profile, I've got this set to 20% at 20 degrees, 40% at 40 degrees, 60% at 60 degrees, and at 70 degrees or higher, it's running at 100% fans. So just to give you an idea, that is the kind of standard curve that I like to try and use, but generally I can't, because most modern coolers with modern processors won't let you do it without sounding absolutely horrendous. So even with our kind of old school AM4 or older Intel platform fan curve, this still handles it absolutely brilliantly. So I'm very pleased to say about that. So in terms of noise, yeah, you're going to love this thing. It's absolutely great. So where it actually gets interesting is if you do want to install your nice RGB RAM, which Thermaltake also sell, which is why this surprises me so much as it does. So basically with RAM, the clearance is horrendous with that front fan mounted. Now, of course, if you want to, you can just put a fan in the middle and put one on the back, should your motherboard allow it. Again, you're probably seeing some pictures of what I did for that a little bit earlier. It still does stick up quite proud, so you're going to need a good 175mm. The stock clearance is about 165, so it is a little bit bigger than a lot of tower coolers on the market, which tend to be kind of around the 150 to 160 and change. So it is a little bit taller, so you do have to bear that in mind for your case as well. But again, if you want to go for your nice RAM, you're going to have to put your fan a little bit higher up again, which is going to go up to kind of 175, maybe even 180, which again, case-wise, you're going to struggle to fit that. So you can put the fan on the back, one in the middle, so that leaves the front completely clear, giving you massive RAM clearance. So I've thought to myself, well, there's got to be an easy way around this, because this is actually a really good cooler, and it does actually perform very well, and it's really quiet, and I kind of like it. But that front fan is a pain in the backside. So I thought, well, what if we don't use a front fan? So doing exactly the same tests, Cinebench score, we're looking about 100 points less, which is kind of within margin of error when it comes down to Cinebench. When it comes to temperatures, about 2 degrees difference on the bottom and the top end. So we're hitting a little bit closer to 30 degrees Celsius on the low end. I think it was like 29.7. And at the top end, we're looking at 91.8, I think it was, from memory. So again, basically the same, around about 2 degrees, which is almost kind of margin of error territory. And again, absolutely silent. And the best thing, it will fit into 165 mils easily. You can actually lower the fan a little bit more as well. And yeah, absolutely fantastic. You can still see all of your RGB RAM. Even if you've got 4 sticks, it will fit in easy. And even if you've got something like Corsair Platinum RAM, the really high ones, or any RAM that's got bizarre heat sinks, it's going to still fit because you don't have that front fan getting in the way, which actually makes this a fantastic cooler. Now, whether or not it's worth $59.99, that is down to the individual. If you look at other similar coolers, which are going to be in the kind of similar sort of price point or similar performance, you're looking at things like the AK620 and also the Dark Rock 4, heading towards more £80. And you've got the Assassin 4 as well, which is about £80–85, which again, similar sort of performance levels to this. This will handle, as they say on the box, up to around about 250 watts in terms of processor. So even a 13900K at its Intel limits should be absolutely fine with this. Now, I haven't tested it with that, although I am very tempted to put this in my own rig and see how well it does against the 13900K. I'll be honest with you, when I set out to do this, I'd seen previous reviews and I did look at some of the negatives of the cooler, especially the fan mounting, and I was thinking, oh God, this is going to be awful. But actually, it has redeemed itself by removing one of the fans, or perhaps putting one on the back, and that's given it much, much better RAM clearance, obviously because there's nothing restricting it at all. And I was actually very surprised by the performance and also the noise levels. In terms of noise, this does fantastically well, and it's got a very nice pitch to it as well. So even when they are under load and they are making some noise because they're moving a lot of air, the pitch is actually very, very pleasing rather than being one of those horrible high-pitched whines, which I absolutely detest. So, all in all, if you can handle having a fan not on the front, then I think this is actually a really nice cooler for you. There are other options, obviously, and actually you might even prefer some of Thermaltake's water cooling range, such as the TH360 or the TH280, which actually isn't that much more expensive if you're looking into it and will give you a little bit more thermal headroom. But overall, if you're looking for a tower cooler and you like the look of this and it fits in with the rest of your build, and you don't mind the slight compromises in terms of not having the fan on front, I think it's definitely worth a look. So there you go, there are my thoughts and findings on the Thermaltake Tough Air 710 Black Edition. Hopefully you found this video informational and interesting, and maybe it's cleared up some of the thoughts that some of you may have when you've seen this and thought, well, actually, yeah, I really like the look of that, but you're a little bit concerned about the actual mounting or perhaps the fan clearances, that kind of stuff. Literally, take one of the fans off and it's absolutely great. Actually, it would be interesting to see if Thermaltake will re-release this as maybe the, I don't know, a 610 or something with a single fan. I think that would clear up a lot of problems in terms of installation. Anyway, I've wrapped this on for way too long. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, smash the like button. If you want to see more content like this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button and then the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.